Hey guys, so this is going to be a care video on the Leachianus Gecko, or Rhacodactylus leachianus, or they just call them leechies. Alright, so first things first, we're going to talk about feeding and misting, which are basically the two things that you can screw up. Alright, so first, we're going to start off with our misting. So you're going to want just a basic sprayer, something like this. And you're gonna wanna mist for about maybe 1 to 2 times a day, or maybe at night if it's a heavy misting. And it also depends on what your substrate is, because if it's paper towel, there's a lot of ventilation like this, you probably will have to mist at least 2 times a day, just because there's a lot of airflow going through, so you can lose a lot of water really quickly. All right, so go ahead and open this. See. I don't know if you can see her. Oh, yeah, she's in there. Alright. Just leave her alone for now. Let me show you what I'm going to do. And so you want to get some moisture on the walls of whatever you're using. Right now I'm using a plastic tub because she's not that heavy right now. You really want to use paper towel and a smaller container until the poop starts getting too much for the paper towel, and then you can move up to like an Exoterra or just a tall glass aquarium that's vertical and not having towel anymore, instead like a earthy substrate that can hold a lot of moisture. So yeah, pretty heavy misting. And secondly, we're gonna do our food. Okay guys, so before we move on to feeding, there's some important things I want to touch base off on real quick. So first off, with your moisture, you're gonna be looking at 60 to 70%, and 2 mistings per day is a pretty good strategy. So, misting in the morning and then misting maybe at night. You could do 1 misting if you have lower ventilation. So for this, something like this with these holes on the side, you can't do 1 misting a day because there's just too much airflow. Also, I see how I put the water, I misted on the walls. This is so that the gecko can, come lick it off and get its liquid, or else they just dehydrate. And also it's in the air, so they can also get their liquid through that. Also, you need to have a dry out period, because bacteria really will thrive if you don't have a dry out period, because if it's just constantly wet in there and your gecko's pooping and there's no period where the moisture leaves your habitat, it's just the bacteria is going to thrive. Also, with your moisture, too much moisture is bad, and also too little is bad, because either way you could get respiratory problems with your gecko. But also with high moisture, that's going to help your gecko shed. With low moisture, your gecko is going to have a hard time shedding. And also, having good moisture is what's going to fuel your gecko to have an appetite to eat his dinner. Next off, we're going to talk about our temperature. So 65 to 70 is a pretty good range, but I would like to look at it probably 65 to 75, because that's a little bit more, I guess, feasible for anyone just living in a house where the thermostat is getting changed. But you don't want to get lower than 65 or higher than 75, because that's really pushing it for your gecko. So don't do that. Stay at 70. 70s are really good temperature for these guys. And lastly, 50 grams and below, that's baby to juvenile. You're gonna want to have them in something like this with the paper towel and some sort of shoebox container that's not too big and not too intimidating for the geckos. So this is pretty big. This would be pretty big for a baby, but she's a pretty big juvenile. So 50 grams and up, that's when you can move them up to their exoterras and their big, tall glass aquariums that can have their soils and your barks and stuff like that. But below 50 grams, just keep them on paper towel. It's a lot easier for the geckos. Alright, so for feeding a Leachianus gecko or just about any New Caledonian gecko in the Rhactodactylus family, they're going to be mainly fruitarians. So that just means they're going to be only eating like a fruit type of diet, and there's not going to be much insects. But with these guys, you can feed them insects and eventually pinky mice when they get really big and like they're adults. But this is what you can completely feed them off of something like Pangea or Repashy, are both good brands, and you don't even have to give them any insects because these contain like the calcium and the vitamins that they need in them already. So this could be their staple. And you're just gonna need like some sort of cap. These would probably be too big for a juvenile because this is a lot of food and they're not gonna eat really much of it, so it'd be a waste. This would probably be a better size. Yeah. So you just put in a 1-to-2 ratio of food to water. So you'll put in half amount of food for water. So you have, twice the amount of water when you're stirring it, and you just want to get a kind of a watery mixture, but still have some texture to it. You don't want it to be too thick, because it'd be harder for it to go down for him. So he's just chilling right there. Like that is perfect. Can always be a little bit more textured, but just don't have it too thick, because that's not any good for them. Okay. And also for your feeding, you should feed them about 3 times a week to every 2 days. So you don't want to overfeed them. You also don't want to underfeed them. You don't want to overweight gecko, because that's just, you don't want to have to take them to the vet. That's not good. Okay, so with most reptiles, you kind of just want to be the tree, because they don't really understand emotion like dogs do and cats. So you don't want to grab them too hard. These guys are kind of strong though, so you might have to have a little bit of grip on them, but they'll kind of just run across you, run up your arm and stuff. She does that a lot. But she's a Grand Terrier Yate and New Anna, so really good color on her. She's still pretty young, so it's kind of neat how much color she has at this age. Oh, she crawled up my arm. See? Yep. Okay, finally for the setup of your enclosure. So you're gonna want some form of foliage, whether it's fake or live, but fake is always better for the Leachianus geckos because they're really heavy bodied and they can weigh up to like 300 grams. So if they fall on a live plant, I don't know if that live plant is going to survive, is what I'm trying to say. So a fake plant will always just be better. Just something for them to feel comfortable and have some privacy in. And this is just a vine. You don't have to have this, but I would get it just so they have something to climb around on. But the most important thing is this cork bark hide. Okay, these are very important. You need to have one of these because they like to burrow. They like to chill in these in their natural habitat in New Caledonia. So you gotta have one of these. They'll spend most of their time in one of these if you do have one, just because they feel so comfortable in there, and it's something they can kind of climb around on in a hollow, shadowy kind of area. So yeah. So here's some of her colors. Not too happy right now because the light's on her, but not trying to get in her eyes. See, she has some beautiful pinks on her. But if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.